Ahsoka Episode 7 recently aired, and it's an absolute roller coaster. This action-packed addition to the Star Wars series is paving the way for an epic finale, and it's pulling out all the stops with big battles, jaw-dropping twists, and more. As usual, we're here to make sense of the tidbits and give you an insight as to what to expect in the final episode of the series. So welcome to Star Wars Deconstructed, students of the Force and acolytes of the galaxy. Whether you're a Jedi, Sith, or somewhere in between, join us today as we give you all the twists, leaks, and expectations for Ahsoka Episode 8. First, let's give you a quick recap of Episode 7. In this thrilling episode, we see Lars Mikkelsen's Grand Admiral Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth join forces in a sinister alliance. On the other side, Sabine finally reunites with Iman Esfandi's Ezra Bridger, and they've got their own agenda. Ezra's desperate to get back with Sabine. But just when they thought they had it all figured out, Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano arrives on the scene in Peridea, throwing a major curveball into the mix. The episode kicks off with Mary Elizabeth Winstead's Harrison Dula making her case to the New Republic, following her daring, unsanctioned mission to assist Ahsoka and Sabine on Cetos in previous episodes. Meanwhile, Ahsoka arrives in Peridea, where she's immediately plunged into a high-stakes showdown with Thrawn and his cunning schemes. It's a clash of titans as our heroine and her adversaries face off, encountering obstacle after obstacle in the pursuit of their respective goals. With the grand finale just around the corner, Episode 7 sets the stage for the ultimate showdown with non-stop action and a treasure trove of revelations. Episode 7 had another Anakin Skywalker cameo, sort of. Ahsoka was seen training in her lightsaber forms, guided by a holovid that Anakin had left her. Can you believe he recorded 20 of these holovids, with this being the last one? It's an absolute delight to see Hayden Christensen reprising his role as a Clone Wars era Anakin. Could be this a hint of what's to come in Episode 8? Could Anakin Skywalker make another return? Well, it seems like we're in for a treat. In Episode 7, we got a taste of Anakin in a pre-recorded hologram message, but according to rumors and leaks making rounds, he's about to make an even bigger comeback as a Force Ghost in the next installment. As you may already know, Force Ghost is the soul and essence of a deceased Force sensitive who's denied the will of the Force upon death, yet able to interact with the living. It could also be described as someone who had come to terms with death and invoked this technique to preserve their identity, manipulating their own essence to guard against being absorbed into the Force in such a way that would lose their identity. Some Sith Lords learned similar techniques, which in some cases were combined with the art of essence transfer, and thus allowed them to physically interact with their environment. This ability also allowed the Force user to interact with both living beings and other Force ghosts. Now, we don't have all the juicy details about the scene just yet, but what we do know is that Anakin Skywalker is beaming with pride for his former Padawan. There's a sense of fondness and nostalgia in the air in this scene. A great battle is set for the final episode of this series, and it's going to be an all-out showdown between Team Ahsoka and the formidable forces of Thrawn. You'd better believe that Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth are gearing up for yet another epic clash. And surprisingly, it is possible that those witches, the Great Mothers, won't be jumping into the fray. Instead, they'll be pulling some strings from the shadows. But here's the kicker and a bit of a shocker. The ever-reliable scooper, My Time to Shine Hello on Twitter, has dropped some potential spoilers that'll leave your jaw on the floor. So, skip this part if you don't want to hear this. But it seems that our trio of heroes, Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra, won't have what it takes to put a stop to Thrawn and his formidable forces. Yeah, you heard that right, they're gonna fail, and Thrawn is gonna make his grand return to the main Star Wars galaxy. He's got his sights set on taking over as the heir to the Empire, and guess what? That's not the only threat looming on the horizon. According to other reports, it looks like one of our beloved heroes might find themselves stranded in this new galaxy. Ezra is rumored to make it back, so that means it is either Ahsoka or Sabine Wren who might end up stuck in this uncharted territory, with a plan to make a triumphant return in the second season. The stakes have never been higher, and the suspense is killing us. Who will it be? Ahsoka or Sabine? By all indications, it looks like Ahsoka Season 2 is on the horizon, and it might just pave the way for the highly anticipated Dave Filoni Star Wars movie. And this projection makes sense. Beyond Ahsoka and Thrawn's unfolding stories, it seems that even characters like Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati are gearing up for some future arcs. Having said that, given that Ray Stevenson, who played Baylan Skoll, has tragically passed away, it is highly probable that Baylan Skoll might see a recasting in the future, which could bring a new take on the character. The Star Wars galaxy keeps evolving, and I think it's safe to say that we're in for some really fun adventures in the seasons and movies to come. Now, one of the jaw-dropping reveals in Episode 7 is that Grand Admiral Thrawn is no slouch when it comes to knowledge. He's fully aware of Ahsoka's deep connection to Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi who famously became Darth Vader. Now, this is no small revelation. Thrawn's history with Anakin goes way back, as seen in Timothy Zahn's novel Thrawn Alliances. Thrawn and Anakin crossed paths during the Clone Wars, well before Thrawn's exile into Imperial space. Thrawn's knowledge of Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader is what put him on Palpatine's radar. So imagine Thrawn's shock when he discovers that he's now facing off against Anakin's former Padawan. This revelation adds a whole new layer of intrigue to the story. It's clear that Thrawn has more than just a passing interest in Ahsoka's quest to find Sabine, and we can't wait to see how Thrawn's knowledge of the past will shape the showdown that's brewing. So we think we might see Princess Leia in the near future. In Episode 7 of Ahsoka, we get a crucial insight into Leia's position in the Star Wars universe. At this point in the timeline, she's not just a senator, she's the leader of the Defense Council. In other words, Leia holds the position of political oversight over the New Republic military. Now, this bombshell revelation has some big implications. With the Mandalorian era unfolding and the looming threat of Grand Admiral Thrawn, it's looking increasingly likely that Lucasfilm might need to recast the role of Princess Leia. After all, if there's a political dimension of the battle against Thrawn, Leia's leadership will play a pivotal role in the unfolding saga. Leia has already been confirmed to be working alongside Hera Syndulla, so it totally adds up that she'd send her loyal droid 3PO to come to Hera's aid. But here's where it gets intriguing. From an in-universe perspective, we're left scratching our heads a bit. Why did Leia send 3PO? What's the deal here? One theory is that Leia might be downplaying the significance of the situation, trying to make it seem like it's not a top priority. Maybe she was swamped with responsibilities and didn't have time to double-check Hera's assignments from Senator Ziono. By the way, Anthony Daniels' cameo is just the icing on the cake in an already thrilling episode. Alright, it's time for those Easter eggs. In Episode 7, Anakin Skywalker name-drops some iconic lightsaber duelists from the Clone Wars era. General Grievous, Count Dooku, and Asajj Ventress. It's like a blast from the past. Now here's the cool part. Anakin taught Ahsoka Gemso, a special variant of Form 5 lightsaber combat. Why? Because it's designed to take on other lightsaber wielders. So when Anakin brings up the names, it's not just a casual chat. It's a reminder of the intense training Ahsoka received to face off against these foes. Ahsoka's been out of practice for a bit, but she's gearing up for a rematch with none other than Baylan Skoll. So Anakin's words aren't just a history lesson, they're a foreshadowing of the epic battles to come. Also, we have Ahsoka's timeline on lockdown now, all thanks to Carson Teva. In the 7th episode, something truly remarkable happens that sets the Star Wars timeline straight once and for all. Carson Teva steps up in a surprising move, throwing his support behind Hera Syndulla during what appears to be a court-martial. But here's the punchline. He mentions Moff Gideon's defeat at Mandalore, a significant event from The Mandalorian Season 3's conclusion. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, I think you can figure that out. This connection is the missing puzzle piece we've all been waiting for. It firmly establishes Ahsoka's place in the timeline. It's official, folks. This Disney Plus TV show is set after the events of The Mandalorian Season 3. So if you were ever wondering where Ahsoka fits into the grand scheme of the Star Wars universe, wonder no more. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the channel and watch the next one.